Hi, I'm Blake with Escape to Arkansas. And if you're one of the 15 people that watched my last video, you know that I have started this channel from nothing with the cheapest camera and absolutely no clue how to make a YouTube video. And I want to see how far I can actually take this with no expensive gear, no crazy setup, no crazy hook idea yet, just a simple camera and whatever I can create with it. But here's where it gets interesting. For every new subscriber, I'm adding 1 cent to my monthly production budget. That's right. I've got a 4 cent monthly production budget right now. Yeah, 1 cent doesn't sound like much, but as it grows, that means I'm getting better because I'm understanding the system. It means I get better gear then, you get better videos, and we can see how far this can really go over time. Right now, this is literally day one. This is the starting point. No shortcuts, no big investments, just building this one step at a time. And I think that's what makes it interesting because most people think you need a ton of money to create something great. But what if you don't? What if it just takes consistency and people who want to see it grow? So if you want to follow the challenge and actually be part of building this, hit subscribe and let's see where this goes. I didn't expect to learn so much using the cheapest camera I could find, but honestly, this turned into way more of a learning experience than I thought. First thing, I had to figure out voiceovers. I ended up finding an AI voice and using Canva, which is actually completely free. And I'll be real, it works way better than I thought I expected for something that cost nothing. But then I started to notice all the little mistakes. Like somehow I had a date stamp on the last video. I didn't even realize it until after I'd filmed everything. So now that's just there. And then the big one. I didn't even set the camera to horizontal or YouTube mode while filming, which basically means I had to adjust the orientation of the video and I made the quality worse than what this camera is actually capable of. So here it is. Voila! The capabilities of this camera. At least in 1080p mode. Apparently, it has a 2K mode. I think that might set on fire if I try that. But tell you what, guys, we pick up 5 subs from this video right here. I'll turn on the 2K mode. So while I made the quality worse than what this camera is even capable of, it's not a fair test of how good it could have looked. In fact, video 2 is not a fair test of my capabilities. Mr. Beast, I think, said it best. You need at least 100 videos to kind of get even halfway good. So we're 2% in, guys. Let's see where this goes. But honestly, this is all just kind of the point. It's messy, it's not perfect, and I'm figuring out as I go. Because most people think you need everything dialed in before you start. But this is what it actually looks like when you just go for it. And I think that's what makes this interesting. You're watching this from the very beginning. Mistakes, bad settings, random problems, all of it. So here you go. You can listen to me talk through random things I learned, or better yet, turn the voice off and let the algorithm decide what to do with it and just let it run. Let's let this algorithm pick up more people for this experiment. Up to you. But if you're here, you're kind of part of it now. So let's see how far we can actually take this. So it's my turn to kind of transition to this AI audio. Guys, nobody tells you this about Arkansas. But moments like this will completely change how you see life. I used to think places like this were something you had to travel hours or even fly somewhere to find. But we all have something like this in our own backyard. For me, the name of this is Lake Catherine State Park. And this is just a normal day for me here. No crowds, no noise, just space to actually walk, think, and breathe for a second. It's crazy how different life can feel when everything slows down. You don't realize how much pressure you're under until it's gone. And the weird part is, nothing about this is complicated. It's just a different pace, a different way of living, no screen on unless you're recording a walk, right? Less rushing, less stress, more moments that actually feel real. And I think that's what surprised me the most. It's not just about where you are, it's about how life feels when you're there. And once you experience that, it's hard to go back to anything else. So again, I'm using this channel to learn, and we'll transition to the AI. Going to give us nice little facts about Arkansas and the lake system and Lake Catherine and just anything and everything, right? But if you want to help support, let the video run. Turn off the AI voice if you don't want to hear it, or if you want to hear something interesting, turn it on. Completely up to you. Thank you for supporting my channel, and you guys have a great transition to the AI.
You spend there, the more you realize how much history and character is actually built into it. The park itself dates back to the 1930s, during the Great Depression, when the Civilian Conservation Corps, better known as the CCC, was tasked with building infrastructure across the country. In Arkansas, they focused heavily on the state park system, and Lake Catherine is one of the places where their work still stands today. A lot of what you see here wasn't just placed here recently, it was built by hand. The trails, the cabins, the layout of the park, all of it was designed to blend into the natural surroundings rather than take away from them. That's part of what makes places like this feel different compared to more developed parks. The lake itself is part of the Washita River system and was formed by the construction of Remmel Dam in the 1920s. That project helped bring hydroelectric power to the region, but it also created a series of lakes that are now some of the most scenic areas in Arkansas. Lake Catherine is known for being quieter than some of the other lakes nearby, like Lake Hamilton or Lake Washita. It's less crowded, a little more tucked away, and that's exactly why people who find it tend to keep coming back. One of the most popular features inside the park is the Falls Branch Trail. It's not a long hike, and it's not overly difficult, but it leads to something that feels completely removed from everything else, a small waterfall hidden in the woods. The waterfall isn't massive, it's not something you'd travel across the country just to see. But that's actually what makes it interesting. It's the kind of place you stumble into, and for a moment, everything just slows down. That's a theme you see a lot in Arkansas in general. The state isn't built around big attractions or crowded destinations. Instead, it's full of places like this, quiet, understated, and easy to overlook if you're not paying attention. Hot Springs itself has a much deeper history than most people realize. Long before it became a national park, the area was known for its natural thermal springs, which have been used for centuries. Native American tribes considered the land sacred, and later, it became a major destination for people seeking the supposed healing properties of the water. By the early 1900s, Hot Springs had turned into a resort town, complete with bathhouses, hotels, and visitors from all over the country. Some came for relaxation, others came for medical reasons, and a few came for less legitimate activities, as the town also gained a reputation for gambling and underground operations during certain periods. But over time, the identity of the area shifted. Today, it's less about that old reputation and more about the natural beauty that surrounds it. And that's where places like Lake Catherine come in. They represent a different side of Arkansas, one that isn't loud or flashy, but still has something meaningful to offer. It's the kind of place where you don't feel rushed, where the expectation isn't to do more, but to just be present for a little while. And for a lot of people, that's something they didn't even realize they were missing. Because when you step away from the constant noise, the schedules, and everything that feels urgent, you start to notice things differently. The water moves slower, The trails feel quieter, even time itself feels like it stretches just a little bit longer. And that's not something you can really explain in a picture or a short video. It's something you have to experience. Which is probably why places like this never get old to the people who find them. They don't need to be the biggest, or the most impressive, or the most talked about. They just need to be real. And Lake Catherine is exactly that.
I didn't think the biggest problem with this camera would be the blinking. Like, I expected it to be bad. It's a $30 camera. I wasn't expecting cinematic quality or anything like that. But I didn't expect it to just randomly blink. At first, I thought it was something I did wrong. Maybe I hit a setting. Maybe I didn't configure something right. Because honestly, that's been the theme so far. In the first video, I didn't even realize I had the camera set up wrong. I filmed everything in vertical instead of horizontal, so the quality looked worse than it should have. That one was on me. So this time, I actually fixed it. Got it into horizontal mode. Framed it better. Did everything the way it was supposed to be done. And then the camera just starts blinking. Like, cool. So now I'm sitting here thinking, is it the camera? Is it the lighting? Is it just cheap gear doing what cheap gear does? And the answer is probably, yeah. It's all of that. But at the same time, I don't even think that's the real problem. Because if I'm being honest, the camera isn't what makes a video good or bad. It's easy to blame the gear. It's easy to say, once I have better equipment, everything will look better. But that's not really how it works. You can have the best camera in the world and still make something people don't care about. And you can have a $30 camera that blinks and still make something worth watching. At least, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because this whole challenge isn't really about the camera. It's about starting from nothing. No budget, no setup, no advantage, just figuring it out in real time. And yeah, part of that means things aren't going to look perfect. The footage might flicker, the framing might be off. Something might always be a little bit wrong. But that's kind of the point. Because most people don't start when everything is ready. They wait. They wait for better gear, better timing, more money, more confidence, and then they never actually start. So I figured, why not just start here, with something that barely works, and see what happens. Because every follower adds 1 cent to the production budget. Right now, we're at 4 cents. 4. So yeah, this is what 4 cents looks like. A blinking camera, a learning curve, and a lot of figuring things out as I go. But if this grows, even a little, that means the quality improves. The camera gets better, the setup gets better, everything levels up over time. And that's what makes this interesting. Not where it is right now, but where it could go. Because eventually, this blinking camera gets replaced. Eventually, the quality improves. Eventually, everything looks more polished. But right now, this is the beginning, and the beginning isn't supposed to look perfect. It's supposed to look like this. A little messy, a little unpredictable, and yeah, sometimes blinking. But real, and honestly, I think that's what people connect with more than anything else. Not perfection, just progress. So yeah, the camera is still blinking, but we're still going, and I guess we'll just see what happens next.
Hot Springs, Arkansas is one of those places that feels almost out of time. At first glance, it just looks like another small town surrounded by trees and mountains. Quiet streets, old buildings, people going about their day. But underneath all of that, there's a deeper story here, one that goes back much further than most people realize. Long before it became a city, long before it became a national park, this land was known for something that couldn't really be explained at the time. The water. Natural thermal springs, rising from deep within the earth, flowing out at temperatures that stay around 140 degrees year-round. For centuries, Native American tribes came here because they believed the water had healing properties. It wasn't just a place to pass through, it was a place to stop, to rest, to recover. Some even called it sacred ground. And for a long time, the area wasn't claimed by any one tribe. It was more like neutral territory, respected, shared, and protected because of what it represented. Then, as the United States expanded westward, settlers began to take notice of the same thing the tribes had known all along. There was something different about this place. By the early 1800s, people were already traveling here for the springs. Not for tourism the way we think of it today, but for something closer to necessity. They believed the water could heal injuries, cure illness, and restore the body in ways that traditional medicine at the time couldn't. And that belief turned hot springs into one of the earliest resort destinations in the country. In 1832, the federal government officially set aside the land, creating what would later become Hot Springs National Park. That was decades before the National Park Service even existed. In a way, this was one of the first places in the United States where people recognized the importance of preserving something natural. As the years went on, the town began to grow around the springs. Bathhouses were built, large, detailed structures designed specifically for people to come and soak in the thermal water. These weren't simple buildings. They were elaborate, almost luxurious, reflecting the importance people placed on the experience. Bathhouse Row, which still stands today, became the center of it all. People came from all over the country. Some came for medical reasons. Others came simply to relax, to step away from the pace of life somewhere else. For a while, Hot Springs became known as the American Spa. But like a lot of places with that kind of attention, it didn't just attract tourists. It also attracted something else. During the early 1900s, Hot Springs developed a reputation that most people don't expect when they first hear about it. Gambling. At the time, gambling was technically illegal, but in Hot Springs, it was widely tolerated. Casinos operated quietly, often in plain sight, and the town became a destination not just for healing, but for risk, entertainment, and escape in a different way. For decades, this side of Hot Springs existed alongside the bathhouses and the natural springs. It became a place where different worlds overlapped, people seeking recovery, people seeking excitement, and people just looking to disappear for a while. Over time, that era faded. Regulations tightened, the casinos closed, and the identity of Hot Springs shifted again. Today, what remains is something quieter. The bathhouses are still there, some restored, some repurposed, but the focus has returned to what made this place important in the first place. The water. You can still see it flowing in certain areas, steaming slightly in the cooler air, coming out of the ground just like it has for centuries. And that's the part that's hard to fully explain until you're there. Because it's not just about the history. It's about how it feels. There's something about standing in a place where people have come for hundreds, if not thousands, of years, all for the same reason. To slow down, to heal, to step away from whatever they were carrying. And in a world that moves as fast as everything does now, that kind of place feels rare. Hot Springs isn't loud. It's not trying to compete with bigger cities or bigger attractions. It doesn't need to, because what it offers is something different. It offers space. Space to pause. Space to think. Space to step out of whatever routine you've been stuck in. And maybe that's why it still matters. Not because it's the biggest or the most popular. But because it's real. The water is still there. The mountains are still there. The history hasn't gone anywhere. It's just waiting for people to notice it. And once you do, it's hard to see it the same way again.
I don't think people really understand how hard it is to start a YouTube channel. Like, from the outside, it looks simple. You just pick up a camera, record something, post it, and that's it. But once you actually try to do it, you realize there's a lot more going on. First, there's the idea. What do you even make videos about? Because it's not enough to just film something. You have to make something that people actually want to watch. Something that makes someone stop scrolling. Something that keeps them there. And that's where I'm struggling right now. Not the filming, not even the editing. The hardest part is figuring out those first few seconds, the hook. Because if you don't get that right, nothing else matters. You could have the best footage, the best story, the best message. And if the first 2 seconds don't grab someone, they're gone. That's it. They scroll, and you never even get the chance to show what you made. Then there's the technical side, which I'm clearly still figuring out. First video, I filmed everything in the wrong format. Second video, I fixed that, and now the camera just blinks. So now I'm dealing with that. And it's kind of frustrating, because it feels like every time I fix one problem, another one shows up. But I guess that's part of it too. There's always something to learn, something to improve, something that doesn't quite work yet. And you don't really see that part when you're watching other creators. You just see the final video. You don't see the trial and error, the mistakes, the things that didn't go the way they were supposed to. And that can make it feel like you're the only one struggling. But I know that's not true. Because every creator had a starting point. Even the big ones. Even Mr. Beast. At some point, he was just uploading videos that no one was watching, trying to figure out what worked. Trying to figure out what people cared about. Trying to figure out how to make something better. And that's where I'm at right now. Figuring it out. Starting from basically nothing. A $30 camera. No real setup. No real budget. And just trying to build something from there. And yeah, I know the camera isn't the reason a video succeeds or fails. But it definitely doesn't make it easier. At the same time, I also know that if I can make something work with this, then when things do improve, when the camera gets better, when the setup gets better, everything else gets better with it. So I'm trying to look at it that way. Not as a limitation, but as a starting point. And part of this whole thing is that I'm not trying to do it alone. That's why I'm putting this out there. Because if you're watching this, you probably see something I don't. You probably notice things I could do better. The hook, the pacing, the way I'm explaining things. So I'm asking, what would you change? If this was your video, what would you do differently? What would make you stop scrolling? What would make you actually want to watch until the end? Because I know that's the part one need to get better at. And I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to try different things. I'm willing to improve. I just need direction. And that's kind of the whole idea behind this challenge. Every follower adds 1 cent to the production budget. Right now, we're at 4 cents. Which means this is still the very beginning. But the more this grows, the more this improves. Better camera, better audio, better everything. And I think that's what makes this interesting. Not where it is right now, but where it could go. Because if this works, if this actually turns into something, then you were here at the start. You helped shape it, you helped build it, and I think that's a pretty cool idea. So yeah, I'm figuring this out in real time, making mistakes, learning as I go, and just trying to get a little bit better with every video. But if you've got advice, if you've got something that could help, drop it below, because I'm listening, and I want to make this better. Let's see how far we can actually take this.
Central Arkansas doesn't usually make the top of people's lists. When people think about places to visit, to move, or even to explore, they tend to picture bigger cities, coastlines, or somewhere more well-known. But right in the middle of the state, there's a region that quietly offers something different, something that isn't built around hype, but around consistency, history, and space. Central Arkansas sits at a kind of crossroads. It's where the flatter farmland of the east begins to give way to the rolling hills and dense forests of the Ouachita Mountains. It's not one thing, it's a mix of environments, small towns, lakes, and pockets of history that stretch back further than most people realize. You've got places like Little Rock, which serves as the capital and the center of commerce and government. It's where things move a little faster, where business happens, and where people from all over the state pass through. But even there, compared to most cities, the pace feels manageable. You're not dealing with constant congestion or overwhelming crowds. It's still Arkansas, and then as you move out from Little Rock, things start to change. The roads open up, the trees get thicker, the towns get smaller. You start to notice something almost immediately, the sense of space. Not just physical space, but mental space. There's less noise, less urgency, less pressure to keep up with something that never really slows down. And eventually, if you keep heading southwest, you end up in a place that has defined this region for generations. Hot springs. But to understand hot springs, you have to go back to the very beginning, long before it was a town, long before it was a destination, before it was even part of the United States. Because what made this place important wasn't something that was built. It was something that came from the ground itself. The water. Natural thermal springs, rising up from deep underground, heated by the earth to temperatures that stay around 140 degrees year-round. For thousands of years, these springs drew people in, not because of tourism, not because of marketing, but because of what they believed the water could do. Native American tribes came here long before settlers ever arrived. They saw the area as sacred ground, a place of healing, a place of peace, a place where conflict was set aside. Some tribes even treated the land as neutral territory, where people could come together without fear. That idea alone says a lot about what this place represented. It wasn't just another location on a map. It was something deeper. When settlers eventually made their way into the region in the early 1800s, they noticed the same thing. The water, the steam rising in cooler air, the constant flow that never seemed to change. And just like the people before them, they began to believe in its healing properties. By 1832, the federal government recognized the importance of the area and set it aside as protected land. This happened decades before the creation of the National Park Service, making Hot Springs one of the earliest protected natural areas in the country. From there, the town began to grow. Not quickly and not chaotically, but steadily, centered around the springs themselves. Bathhouses were built along what is now known as Bathhouse Row. These weren't small, simple structures. They were detailed, carefully designed buildings meant to provide a full experience. People would travel from all over the country to soak in the thermal waters, believing they could heal everything from injuries to chronic illnesses. For a time, Hot Springs became one of the most well-known resort towns in America. But like many places that gain attention, it developed more than one identity. In the early 1900s, Hot Springs became known not just for its bathhouses, but also for gambling. Even though it was technically illegal, it was widely tolerated, and the town became a destination for people looking for more than just relaxation. It became a place where different worlds overlapped. People came to recover, people came to escape, people came to take risks. And over time, that era faded. The gambling was eventually shut down, regulations tightened, and the town shifted again, back toward what made it unique in the first place. Today, Hot Springs feels quieter. The bathhouses are still there, some restored, some repurposed. The springs still flow, just as they always have. And the mountains surrounding the town still create that sense of separation from everything else. But what stands out now isn't just the history. It's the feeling. There's something about being in a place that has been used for the same purpose for thousands of years. A place where people came to slow down, to heal, to step away from whatever they were dealing with.
Starting from scratch in filmmaking is not about having the best equipment. It is about understanding the fundamentals that make a video watchable, engaging, and clear. The first priority is stability. A steady image immediately improves perceived quality. Even with a low-cost camera, minimizing shake can make footage look significantly more professional. Holding the camera with both hands, using a stable surface, or positioning it in a fixed place can reduce unnecessary movement and create a cleaner visual experience. The second priority is lighting. Light determines how the camera captures detail. Natural light is often the most effective solution. Positioning the subject so that light falls on the face or main focus area, rather than behind it, prevents shadows and improves clarity. Poor lighting can make even high-end cameras look unusable, while good lighting can elevate low-end equipment. The third element is framing. The way a subject is positioned within the frame affects how the viewer interprets the scene. Keeping the subject slightly off-center, aligning with natural visual balance, and avoiding cluttered backgrounds helps guide the viewer's attention. A simple, intentional composition is more effective than an overly complex setup. Audio is another critical factor. Viewers are more likely to tolerate imperfect visuals than unclear sound. Speaking clearly, minimizing background noise, and maintaining consistent volume can significantly improve the overall quality of a video. Simplicity is essential. Many beginners attempt to incorporate too many techniques at once. Instead, focusing on one or two improvements per video leads to faster progress. Each video becomes an opportunity to refine a specific skill, whether that is stability, lighting, or composition. Most importantly, content is driven by storytelling. Equipment does not determine whether a video succeeds. The ability to capture attention, maintain interest, and deliver a clear message is what keeps viewers engaged. A compelling idea or perspective can outweigh technical imperfections. Starting from scratch means accepting imperfection. Mistakes are part of the process. Incorrect settings, inconsistent quality, and unexpected issues are expected when learning. Each problem provides information that improves the next attempt. Progress in video creation is incremental. Improvement does not come from a single change, but from consistent adjustments over time. As each element improves, the overall quality increases naturally. The goal is not to achieve perfection immediately. The goal is to develop the ability to recognize what can be improved and apply that knowledge consistently. Starting from nothing is not a disadvantage. It is a process that reveals what actually matters. And over time, that process creates something that works.
Arkansas has a history that stretches back thousands of years, long before it became a state, or even part of the United States. The land that is now Arkansas was once home to Native American tribes who lived off the rivers, forests, and fertile soil that defined the region.
Del ser, quiero puedas ver que salimos del suelo y abrimos el mirar al fuego en nuestra mano. Habló en lenguas, el tambor fue el sol. Bailamos en aliento, con silencio en el pulmón, y el tiempo se borró. Somos el fuego, somos la mano, creamos el sueño, hicimos el plano, nacidos del cielo, paridos del llano. El fuego, somos la mano. Moldeamos el metal y aprendimos a mandar. Nombramos viento y sol, nos cubrimos de poder y pedimos no cambió, seguía en la piel y el polvo susurró, recuerda.